Progress Report 9, April 1st. Everybody in the bakery came to see me today, where I started my new job working by the dough mixer. It happened like this. Oliver, who works on the mixer, quit yesterday. I used to help him out before bringing the bags of flour over to him to put in the mixer. Anyway, I didn't know that I knew how to work the mixer. It's very hard, and Oliver went to baker's school for 1 year before he could learn how to be an assistant baker. But Joe Carp, he's my friend, he said, "Charlie, why don't you take over Oliver's job?" Everybody on the floor came around and they were laughing. And Frank Riley said, "Yeah, Charlie, you've been here long enough. Enough. Go ahead. Gimpy ain't around and he won't know you tried it." I was scared because Gimpy is the head baker and he told me never to go near the mixer because I would get hurt. Everybody said, "Do it," except Fanny Burden, excuse me, who said, "Stop it. Why don't you leave the poor man alone?" Frank Riley said, "Shut up, Fanny. It's April Fool's Day, and if Charlie works on the mixer, he might fix it good so we will all have the day off." I said I couldn't fix the machine, but I could work it because I've been watching Oliver ever since I got back. I worked the dough mixer and everybody was surprised, especially Frank Riley. Fanny Burden got excited because she said it took Oliver 2 years to learn how to mix the dough right, and he went to baker school. Bernie Bate, who helps on the machine, said, "I did it faster than Oliver did, and better." Nobody laughed. When Gimpy came back and Fanny told him, he got sore at me for working on the mixer. But she said, "Watch him and see how he does it." They were playing him for an April Fool joke, and he fooled them instead. Gimpy watched, and I knew he was sore at me because he don't like when people don't do what he tells them, just like Professor Nemur. But he saw how I worked the mixer, and he scratched his head and said, "I see it, but I don't believe it." Then he called Mr. Donner and told me to work it again so Mr. Donner could see it. I was scared. He was going to be angry and holler at me, so after I was finished, I said, "Can I go back to my own job now?" I got to sweep out the front of the bakery behind the counter. Mr. Donner looked at me funny for a long time. Then he said, "This must be some kind of April Fool's joke you guys are playing on me. What's the catch?" Gimpy said, "That's what I thought it was, some kind of a gag." He limped all around the machine and he said to Mr. Donner, "I don't understand it either, but Charlie knows how to handle it, and I got to admit it, he does a better job than Oliver." Everybody was crowded around and talking about it, and I got scared because they all looked at me funny and they were excited. Frank said, "I told you there is something peculiar lately about Charlie." And Joe Carp says, "Yeah, I know what you mean." Mr. Donner sent everybody back to work, and he took me out to the front of the store with him. He said, "Charlie, I don't know how you done it, but it looks like you finally learned something. I want you to be careful and do the best you can do. You got yourself a new job with a $5 raise." I said I don't want a new job because I like to clean up and sweep and deliver and do things for my friends. But Mr. Donner said, "Never mind your friends. I need you for this job. I don't think much of a man who don't want to advance." I said, "What's advance mean?" He scratched his head and looked at me over his glasses. "Never mind that, Charlie. From now on you work at the mixer. That's advance." So now, instead of delivering packages and washing out the toilets and dumping the garbage, I'm the new mixer. That's advance. Tomorrow I will tell Miss Kenyon. I think she will be happy, but I don't know why Frank and Joe are mad at me. I asked Fanny, and she said, "Never mind those fools. This is April Fool's Day, and the joke backfired and made them the fools instead of you." I asked Joe to tell me what was the joke that backfired, and he said, "Go jump in the lake." I guess they're mad at me because I worked the machine, but they didn't get the day off like they thought. Does that mean I'm getting smarter? April 3rd. Finished Robinson Crusoe. I want to find out more about what happens to him, but Miss Kenyon says that's all there is. Why? April 4. Miss Kenyon says I'm learning fast. She read some of my progress reports and she looked at me kind of funny. She says I'm a fine person and I'll show them all. I asked her why. She said, "Never mind, but I shouldn't feel bad if I find out that everybody isn't nice like I think." She said, "For a person who God gave so little to, you did more than a lot of people with brains they never even used." I said, "That's all my friends are smart people and they're good. They like me and they never did anything that wasn't nice." Then she got something in her eye and she had to run out to the ladies' room. While I was sitting in the teaching room waiting for her, I was wondering about how Miss Kinningham was a nice lady like my mother used to be. I think I remember my mother told me to be good and always be friendly to people. She said, "But always be careful because some people don't understand and they might think you are trying to make trouble." That makes me remember when Mom had to go away and they put me to stay in Mrs. Leroy's house, who lived next door. Mom went to the hospital. Dad said she wasn't sick or nothing, but she went to the hospital to bring me back a baby sister or a brother. I still don't know how they do that. I told them I want a baby brother to play with, and I don't know why they got me a sister instead, but she was nice like a doll, only she cried all the time. I never hurt her or nothing. They put her in a crib in their room, and once I heard Dad say, "Don't worry, Charlie wouldn't harm her." She was like a bundle, all pink and screaming sometimes that I couldn't sleep. And when I went to sleep, she woke me up in the night time. One time, when they were in the kitchen and I was in my bed, she was crying. I got up to pick her up and hold her to get quiet, the way Mom does. But then Mom came in yelling and took her away, and she slapped me so hard I fell on the bed. Then she started screaming, "Don't you ever touch her again. You'll hurt her. She's a baby. You got no business touching her." I didn't know it then, but I guess I know it now, that she thought I was going to hurt the baby because I was too dumb to know what I was doing. Now that makes me feel bad because I would never have hurt the baby. When I go to Dr. Strauss' office, I got to tell him about that. April 6. Today I learned the comma. This is a comma, a period with a tail. Miss Kinnian says it's important because it makes writing better. She said somebody could lose a lot of money if a comma isn't in the right place. I got some money that I saved from my job, and what the foundation pays me, but not much, and I don't see how a comma keeps you from losing it. But she says everybody uses commas, so I'll use them too, comma, comma, comma. April 7. I used the comma wrong. It's punctuation. Miss Kinnian told me to look up long words in the dictionary to learn to spell them. I said, "What's the difference if you can read it anyway?" She said, "It's part of your education. From now on, I look up all the words I'm not sure how to spell. It takes a long time to write that way, but I think I'm remembering more and more. Anyway, that's how come I got the word punctuation right. It's that way in the dictionary. Miss Kinnian says a period is punctuation too, and there are lots of other marks to learn. I told her I thought she meant all the periods had to have tails and be called commas, but she said no. She said you got to mix them up. She showed me how to mix them up, and now I can mix up all kinds of punctuation in my writing. There are lots of rules to learn, but I'm getting them in my head. One thing I like about Dear Miss Kinnian, that's the way it goes in a business letter if I ever go into business, is that she always gives me a reason. When I ask, she's a genius. I wish I could be smarter like her. Punctuation is fun. April 8. What a dope I am. I didn't even understand what she was talking about. I read the grammar book last night and it explains the whole thing. Then I saw it was the same way as Miss Kinnian was trying to tell me, but I didn't get it. I got up in the middle of the night and the whole thing straightened out in my mind. Miss Kinnian said that the TV working just before I fell asleep and during the night helped out. She said I reached a plateau. That's like the flat top of a hill. After I figured out how punctuation worked, I read over all my old progress reports from the beginning. Boy, did I have crazy spelling and punctuation. I told Miss Kinnigan I ought to go over the pages and fix all the mistakes, but she said, "No, Charlie, Professor Nemur wants them just as they are. That's why he lets you keep them after they're photostated to see your own progress. You're coming along fast, Charlie." That made me feel good. After the lesson I went down and played with Algernon. We don't race anymore.